Recording is on.
Hello and welcome to the DXDAO BizDev call for Monday, 4th of October, 2021. On the agenda today, I think we have a new member introduction. He's on the call and we'll give Tammy that. We have, under exploring, we have Tally Cash presentation and we have Carolyn and Michael here. After that, we're going to be talking about the BizDev group has been chatting about the proposal process. We can continue to talk about Swapper Epoch 3. If there's any update on Badger or Adamant, we can have that as well. And beyond that, I think we have a few updates about ETH Online. And so ETH Global or ETH Online, and that's mostly it. Melanie, do we have anyone new here who wants to introduce themselves? Yeah, I see Tabish.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. I just wanted to introduce Tabish. I think he's on the call right now. So Tabish, if you wanted to just tell the community a little bit about yourself, just like your expertise, a little bit about your past work, and just how you found out about DXDAO, that would be great.
Hi everyone, I'm Tabish. Currently, I'm a software engineer at Internet Archive. Which is I think a non-profit in San Francisco. I got introduced to DXDAO through like the Swapper badge strategy. Am I still audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're fine.
Yeah. I've been building writing Solidity for almost like 6 months now. I've made 2 or 3 projects. I've written strategies for Badger for Bitcoin Grants 11 hackathon for like on Arbitrum, Polygon, and happy to be here.
Welcome. So we have like a dev-centered call tomorrow, so it would probably be great to join that one as well. And Melanie is your point of contact to onboard, and I don't know if you want to add anything else, Melanie.
That was it. Thanks for introducing yourself, and we're looking forward to kind of next steps. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the DXDAO. So I think up next we have a presentation by Tally Cash. There was a call this last Friday with some of the members of DXbiz to explore some opportunities, and I guess we can just give you guys the stage. Feel free to introduce yourself, what you guys are doing, and we can follow up with questions from the people in the call.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Hey, I'm Carolyn. I am a biz dev and strategy lead for Thesis, which it's a venture studio. We do keep in TBTC. I know I've talked to some of the community about TBTC recently, but we're also the team behind Fold, the Fold card in the Bitcoin space, and then also Saddle, the AMM. And Tally is our newest project. Got a couple of teammates here. I think Michael Haley has been introduced on the product side. And then I think I also see Carl, who works on like integration and an ecosystem, and then Chloe from our growth team. Awesome to be here. But yeah, so I had a quick call with Nathan and Nissa last week and chatted a little bit about how we might be able to work with DXDAO. But first I can talk a little bit about the wallet and what it is we're trying to do here, the ethos behind it, because one of the things that we were really excited about is there seems to be a big crossover just in terms of like the heavy focus on community ethos, community owned and operated, and like you guys have been doing this for quite a long time, and a lot of DeFi now is just jumping on that like community owned, community governed bandwagon. And what we're trying to do with Tally is create a wallet, a portal to Web3 into DeFi that is wholly community owned, it's not MetaMask basically. There's a lot of reasons why a wallet, right? One is just like a lot of annoying things about MetaMask that could be better, just from a pure product perspective. And the other piece is that MetaMask users don't see any upside, and they have no say in MetaMask or the success of the product. And that's really what kicked off our journey with Tally. So Matt Luongo, the founder, noticed a little over a year ago that MetaMask went closed source one day. They were on an open MIT license, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And that seemed strange. And then a few months later, they came out with MetaSwap, which just charges exorbitant fees. Consensus is making a lot of money on that, but it made a little bit more sense as you saw the product develop. So that's when the idea was born, was to, hey, let's build an alternative out there. Let's fork MetaMask. Let's fair launch it, and let's offer a better product, right? It's about time also that there is a legitimate competitor in the ecosystem. And in terms of the product direction, one of the things that we want to start with is really making it easier to use DeFi. Because right now, the DeFi power user, that's really who we're trying to build for at first. MetaMask, I'm sure you guys all know, hardware wallets don't really work well. You can never use more than one hardware wallet. All these little annoying UX pieces around needing to add brand new tokens, DeFi tokens, every single time something lands in your wallet. It's just really not optimal. So that's the goal here is let's launch something. One, it's fair launch and community owned, and two, let's give a better experience. Longer term visions include things like different chains, different networks. We're actually going to be starting with having L2, so Arbitrum Optimism support, and trying to fix some of the nasty UX around that. But longer term visions include other chains beyond just Ethereum, and things like NFTs, and there's a lot of exciting ways that the wallet can go. But I won't. I think what might be interesting, I can give you guys a bit of a sneak peek if I can share my screen and just show you. Let's see. Here we go. Some Figma. So this is just the screens. We're actually if I had, I don't think I have this up and running on my machine, I could show you sort of it in action, but right now just some screens are good. Can you see the Figma screen? Yes, it looks like you can.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. So let's see. This is the wallet here. We've got this tally ho. This is kind of a bit of a nod to the Fox theme. But it's going to be, we're going to have a lot of, similar things to MetaMask. So there will be the swap feature. This is, when we do fair launch, obviously this is going to be, one of the first things that users are going to be able to decide fees and see upside from the fees. That's sort of the big difference of the community owned piece off the bat once we do, launch a DAO. But another new piece, I don't think I mentioned this, that we're going to be launching with in the product is the Earn tab. So this is going to be views directly into opportunities to earn yield. At first, it's going to be, we're working with Yearn. They're going to be wrapped Yearn vaults, but there's a lot of opportunities. We're thinking through what makes sense to also offer on here. So that potentially could be, a way, in addition to, providing liquidity on swap, but maybe also this Earn page here. Another thing that I'll show you is this piece around network. So we're really trying to make it just more native and easier to switch between, different networks. The idea eventually is to also, like I said, different blockchains like Celo. So this is just a mock-up of what this could look like, but having just a bit more of a natural flow. for the L2 experience is something that we're aiming for pretty soon. So that's just a little bit of a sneak preview. Let me stop sharing. And then in terms of how to work together, we talked a little bit about what you guys are doing with Swapper, and I think that like I mentioned before, very much ideologically aligned around community ownership. So I can see the proposal of integrating Swapper as an additional liquidity source for TallySwap. I can imagine the community could get on board with that. We are since we are planning to do a complete fair launch, we're leaning really into community management and letting the community run a lot of the marketing and the integration discussions. So I encourage you guys and everybody to jump on our Discord. What I'd love to do after this call is create a DXDAO integrations channel. We've got a whole section with a lot of projects that we're working with, and invite you into we can post this this recording and just invite you guys to talk a little bit about Swapper and other things that you're working on. What we can do is also schedule you to for someone to jump on one of our community calls. We do them every single Friday, and we've been inviting different teams. We had, we had Gnosis and Flashbots and a whole host of other people, similar to this. So was happy to be able to jump on your end, but yeah, it would be great to have you there. The last piece around marketing, around our launch, and that I want to mention is we're sort of doing a lot of cross promotion and thinking about how to engage DAOs and communities that we really admire, you guys are obviously one of them. So what we're going to be doing is when we do launch, there is this this drop component, and we're going to be rolling out what we're calling community codes. So these are essentially claim links that folks can use that will be associated with different DAOs and different communities. So for example, tally.cash/DXDAO is probably what your link would be. And this could be something that basically just gives a little bit of an additional upside in the claim process, both for the person that uses this code, but also for the DAOs themselves. So would love to work with you guys on that and have a little bit of cross promotion going and education around Tally, and just getting our communities mixing a bit. I think that's it. I guess I'll pause for questions, but that's mostly what we chatted about.
Yeah, that is awesome, Carolyn. I'm as excited as I was in our previous chat. Every time I hear all of this, it gives me goosebumps. I'm a dreamer, and I'm really excited. A friend I follow on Twitter tweeted recently, in traditional environment, you have 3 different groups interacting. You have the investor, you have the user, and you have the company product provider. With DAOs and Tally Cash, you can be your own bank, and all of these 3 groups are the same person. And this is really exciting. We've done a lot of back and forth in the previous chat, so I'll leave it to the rest of the group to ask questions. So yeah. One question that actually came up in private chats was someone tried to do a similar MetaMask killer recently, and how would Tally Cash be different? My answer to that would be DXDAO. DXDAO and Swapper will make it, would make a massive difference. But also, I can see how the whole economy around how it's built, it's curated towards the user, and yeah.
Yeah. in a lot of ways, it's surprising and it isn't surprising that that there hasn't been a serious MetaMask competitor, because everybody really feels these pain points and wants something better. But switching is hard. And so we're hoping through the way that we're going to be doing distribution, that's going to change the game. On that note about wallet pain points, another way we'd love to collaborate with you guys and any team is hear from you guys about what your pain points are as DeFi users, because that's something that we want to do better than MetaMask, is be more just more collaborative with the community, with dApp devs around what your needs are.
Cool. I had a question. Is the idea of adding natively lots of Ethereum related chains and then side chains and L2s and then other chains like Celo and other layer ones is great. Is the answer to that not being a total crazy mess is the token holders through curation? Is curation going to be a big part of the tokens and the chains that get to be a part of this open source system, basically?
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. And similar, I think we were talking with Nathan about the way you guys do curation and launch on other chains, sort of carefully and slowly, but with the same type of governance structures. Definitely, we want to check that out and learn from other folks that have done it well before, and you guys are definitely one of those.
It looked great. When can we use it?
So we're going to be, the launch will be sometime in Q4, but definitely jump in our Discord for closer updates. There may be some sneak peeks and alpha stuff coming soon.
Cool.
And I'll drop the Discord here, but it's chat.tally.cash.
Very cool stuff. I even like the claim structure. That's a really cool thing to think about. And obviously wallets are such core pieces of infrastructure, probably the thing that gets overlooked the most. And I'm curious to how you guys are kind of thinking about that as a long-term censorship resistance. So we think about this with DXDAO in terms of decentralization, that all of our front ends are owned by DXDAO and hosted on IPFS and can only be taken down with proposals from DXDAO. And I think that really is really important. You think about front ends and kind of some of the regulatory action and how people are coming after those yet, whether it's 1inch or Uniswap. And I think wallets, non-custodial wallets are maybe kind of the next. And then there's the whole big Apple iOS app store kind of question of how to manage that relationship. So I'm just kind of curious how you maybe are thinking about these issues long term.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and is one that I think we definitely want to curate a community that is thinking about these actively and early. The way that we're trying to launch is MVP and sort of put out our vision for this wallet product wise, but there's going to be a DAO from the start, and eventually a lot of these decisions are going to be pushed in that direction. So yeah, that's why glad that we're chatting with you guys, because you're the type of community that is thinking about these things. In terms of the front end stuff, yeah, I'm not deep on the technical product stuff. Haley, I don't know if you have any, or Carl have any thoughts about how we might be thinking about decentralizing the front end and some of these single points of failure, at the Apple Store and Chrome, But I know that there are some interesting projects, stuff like IPFS obviously is great infrastructure, but interesting things like the Skynet, former Sia team is doing some interesting work around decentralizing front ends, and that's one of the teams that we've been talking to a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely much later launch, and hopefully the community is much more involved at that point in helping to.
But I think that's be something I think we'd be interested maybe in building, like, because I think the ENS amazing. Stuff we do now is very innovative, and I think this would be like in that same vein.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'd love to link on that. I mean, it's tough. One option is obviously you could have users, download and build the extension themselves and not go through the web store, but a lot of people are going to lose money if we go that path, right? So we'd love to connect. Definitely something we're thinking about, but it's tough, and there's not
because it needs to be a Chrome extension at the end of the day, right, to actually fill that niche.
Yeah.
Another question on that, like, what are you planning to use for like the RPC endpoints? Are you using Infura or?
We're actually launching with Alchemy. So this is another piece of the let's make sure that we're decentralizing the stack as much as possible. It doesn't make sense for everything to be going through both Infura and MetaMask. It's very central point of failure. But long term, the vision is stepping out and using Alchemy, this other provider, that's a step in the right direction. But really, decentralized is the way to go.
Yeah, we're really excited about what Pocket is doing too on that front, basically the decentralized Infura. But I mean, just having some different options is a great first step and much needed.
Yeah, the idea is to move first from a monopoly to a duopoly, and then hopefully to keep on branching from there.
Have you guys selected a platform for the governance in the community? How are you planning to operate that?
I think that we're going to be launching with Governor Bravo, but in terms of other platforms, I'm not sure if we've actually decided yet. So if you've got stuff that you use or you're working on, definitely interested in checking that out.
Yeah, we have our own we came out at using the DAO Stack platform, and we've sort of taken over and kind of evolved that for our own needs, but still a little bit, I'd say it kind of this power user beta phase. And if I think Bravo's probably a good choice, and especially if you want the token voting. But we have, I don't know how much you've talked with folks about how we have a reputational governance model. So it's a non-transferable voting power that, so it's a little different than what a lot of projects have with the token voting. But yeah, we can always talk more about it. But I mean, it sounds like you guys are on kind of a sensible path with the compound fork.
Another way to approach it would also be having a decentralized front end governed by a DAO as a dynamic web app. So basically, you visit an ETH domain, and it works as an app, but it's actually a decentralized domain, and it could be governed by the DAO, and it would pretty much be what DXDAO is doing right now, unstoppable and censorship resistant. And it could feature DXDAO's user interface with the eco routing, the cross-chain bridging. It would be something just beautiful.
Yeah, this is cool.
Do you have an example of a write-up of that? I'd love to look into what you described in a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Or maybe a separate one-on-one or a separate spin-off conversation on that. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so if you want to have a look, most of the DXDAO products are essentially hosted on ENS domains, and then the DAO actually updates the ENS content hash. It's an interesting process that, I guess John could expand on this. But it's the DAO votes on updating that website.
Because the DAO avatar actually can control the ENS name on Ethereum, right? It actually gives governance the power to update the site but we're still reliant on, the IPFS gives us the decentralized hosting, but in terms of actually visiting the site, you still need a browser, right? So we're still reliant on what we actually share with people are the .link service. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You only need a browser though, not a browser extension?
To visit the DXDAO dApps, yeah. Well, you need a wallet to interact with them.
You still need the wallet. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't bypassing a step in the chain there.
No, this is really cool. I would love to get someone from your team on our community call and like diving into some of this stuff, because there's, you guys are working on so much and see a lot of potential for collaboration. Fortunately, I think our team does need to drop. We've got another call, but this has been really great to chat with you guys, and hopefully we can like hang out in Lisbon. Sounds like a bunch of you are going to be there. We'll be there too.
Yeah.
Sounds great. How do we do the intro? Would you do this? Would you do this? Sorry, the integrations channel on Discord and the Friday AMA.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll later this afternoon we'll make a channel for you guys. If it's that chat.tally.cash link that Michael put in there. And Nathan, if you're in there, really anybody, just I'll look for you when you jump in, or you can ping me. I'm pretty easy to find, and I'll just introduce you in the channel, or you can introduce yourself. It's pretty open. And then the moderators will help get you on the schedule for some Friday. We do it Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, usually.
Awesome. That's good.
We usually have also like a sort of like a Telegram group with people, like stakeholders from DXDAO and stakeholders from, I guess, from Tally, or and then if we want to coordinate anything there, that also works. So I don't know, Dave, if you want to open, Nathan, if you want to open a group and share.
Yeah, indeed.
Sounds great. Well, I do have to hop, but thank you guys for having us.
Thank you guys for the time.
It was a great pleasure. Thanks for attending.
Guys. Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks.
So I guess thanks to the guys at Tally. Sounds super interesting, and interesting to explore like how could we collaborate in the future. And maybe briefly I will talk about kind of like the next topic of discussion is that we've been discussing internally in the DXbiz group last week and kind of like before on sort of the DXbiz process and how do we bring sort of collaborations onto to DXDAO and how to approve them. And I think like we're working on our process, and hopefully we will have something to present by at least like mid of the DX retreat. Hopefully, this could be done with other sort of groups or sub-DAOs or I don't know how to call it, like sort of like the working groups that we have. That's that. I don't know if anyone has any questions or want to add anything, maybe Sky or Nathan.
No, yeah, it will be fun to talk about it in Lisbon, but it's really, we do have lots of good ideas and there's always lots of opportunities, but we saw it when like Hedgehog, was like, whoa, like why don't we stake our ETH, right? It's like we've talked about staking ETH, and it comes with risks, and we've thrown around the idea, and we know we can do it at some point when the time is right. But when there's not like the CEO of something, what does it take for an initiative or opportunity like that to actually then like happen? Does one person have to basically take it under their wing, and that is their main objective, is to like pass this opportunity through the community of DXDAO? And so we have a bunch of good ideas and interesting things that kind of sit on the sideline, and we haven't executed them. Part of it's prioritization, part of it's, there are extra risks that come with staking ETH. Like we're holding ETH, ETH's gone up, but should we be staking ETH, and should we just do it with a small amount to try it? And so those are like unanswered questions. And then I guess the idea kind of sits there because one person doesn't necessarily like take it under that person's wing to like push it through. And then, so we're figuring out this is like something that doesn't really happen in companies, because you can always just ask the boss and the boss makes a decision. In a decentralized collective, these like array of opportunities like Hats was easy. Hats, everyone seemed excited about it. We get it passed through. But then like staking ETH, I think most people think it's a good idea, but like we haven't done it. So the question is, why haven't we done it? So, and yeah, I think Ross's point about it's actually, I think we need more on-chain, even if there's signal votes, I think we need more on-chain votes. And Geronimo had proposed this, a couple months ago, is some people don't look at anything until there's an on-chain vote. And even if that's a signal vote, it forces like action. And once you have that on-chain signal vote, I think you then have an outcome of that. It's like a poll. And then we know, okay, there's support for this. Let now one person who wants to champion this idea through the decentralization process, and then we can get better at like completing ideas, I think, rather than just like having good ideas sit around maybe.
On the prioritization aspect of that, this isn't like a new idea, but it would be neat to eventually have a system where like there could be a decentralized way of ranking the priorities, like so that community members like like Hedgehog could like vote, basically be like, I'm putting my DXD down on this thing as a priority. And then, that could be basically a way to like queue things up in order. Yeah. And then it would be up to the contributors to like kind of grab things in terms of responsibility. And, maybe there's some flexibility there, but it would sort of be an obligation, I think, for the contributors to make sure that the highest priority stuff is getting done. Right?
Yeah. So that's actually, so that is basically conviction voting, which we could do with DXD token, I think, or eventually you could do it with Swapper token for Swapper stuff too. But that actually exists on XDAI. Common Stack had used it, and I think Token Engineering, their new entity Commons, is like everything's based on conviction voting. So we would need, it is an interesting idea. We need some development resource to take what mostly exists and kind of, I think, embed it or allow DXDAO to like, customize it to DXDAO.
Yeah, so the conviction voting is like where you lock up your stake, your voting like over time, right? And that shows your conviction.
Yeah.
So like that's one way to do it. I think you could do other types of voting too, as long as there's some way to like assign weight and to the order, basically. But yeah, it requires either way, we need to do something to develop it, right? And like have a system.
Yeah, I guess this is like curation. So this is what I asked about Carolyn about, like everything is coming down to in decentralized systems, whether it's like when Twitter is going to have a token system or, or an open source MetaMask, like it all comes down basically to curation, because if you don't have really good curation and prioritization of lists of things, the whole thing doesn't work. Like you need people to be incentivized to curate things. Otherwise, it's just a open mess of decentralizedness, and no one knows what to look at. So TCRs, back to TCRs, yeah.
Yeah.
TCP. I would say, like, I think this is a part of like, I don't know, a lot of the stuff that I personally hoped that we were going to tackle and talk about in the retreat. I think we've done, like, I briefly met some of the people in real life here yesterday, but I think we've made such immense progress in, decentralized sort of like collaboration and decision making in whatever DAOs are, and then like we need to work on the processes and like how do we pass things, how is accountability and responsibility delegated, and hopefully a lot of these things we're going to be talking about in the DX retreat, and come up with processes that make the DAO sort of like tick and work in a better way.
Yeah, I think if you zoom out, you can kind of see where we are. I think we're at this kind of like a pivotal point where maybe the last year and a half was first about raising capital, then about deploying products and like demonstrating that, how the DAO can actually be a viable operation that collects its own fees, right? And so we have that going, at least a start of that with Swapper, and now we can look forward and think like in the big picture, what are we actually trying to do here, and like how can DXDAO be a leader in decentralization and like establishing autonomy and like really building out this true kind of grand vision of what a DAO is and like how do we scale the operations around that. So yeah, I think Lisbon's going to be a nice opportunity to have a discussion around that.
Right. I think just, coming in and having the opportunity to observe for a period and participate in conversations, I do think, the big piece is getting that greater vision and kind of, the word's been, I've been using some and others too, kind of that true north, but that's also going to help us kind of find out what our guiding principles are in the direction, which makes it, more simple to understand, okay, well, what fits within that direction? While the lane may be really, really wide, we still need a direction. Are we going north or are we going south? And so I think, once we can reach consensus on that and have a general direction, have it articulated more, I think that'll, help us make more of these decisions.
I want to add that, the direction is important. That's kind of like, something that we will flesh out, but also like how we're going to get there and like what are the processes, how we're going to do them. And kind of like, to the analogy of like where we're going. So like how we're going to do this. So we're going to fly there, we're going to walk there, we're going to drive there in a car, in a van, in a bus, like that has all of DXDAO, or maybe, I don't know, smaller cars. I don't know, like you can use many different analogies, but yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I still think though we need to figure out the direction and then work backwards with the processes. So hopefully those can happen at the same time.
And the DX retreat as a yearly thing. I actually think this is like kind of like as an off topic maybe, but I actually think like this is the way companies in general should work. Like they're going to be like fully, all over the world, and then once a year, like there's a retreat of a week where you come and discuss and figure out like adjust direction.
Well, remember, most companies also have annual shareholder meetings, right? Like this is like Warren Buffett's big day of the year is they have all of the shareholders come in and like they have like it is like a culture indoctrination session too. So I think it's not just about contributors, but it's like, this is like DXDAO's week or something. And anyone that's involved in the ecosystem like wants to be there and kind of meet people, build products. Because hopefully there's, lots of other things that are growing out of the DXDAO ecosystem there. But yeah, just everyone said, I'm excited for Lisbon. And I think we should kind of be going into it with the knowledge that we can like make a big leap. Right. And it's like sometimes hard to make leaps in certain different times. I think that's John was talking about like where we are and how you have to get certain place. But I think there's a big opportunity for us to kind of make a leap over the next couple weeks here. So excited.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, sorry, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I kind of have an idea I'll throw out there. It's an inception for something to consider. We could probably talk about it during the retreat. Something we could incorporate in DX Vote, and that's the problem would come that we'd need to have signatures. I think Augusto has figured that out even on mainnet, so I don't think it would be much of a problem, but it would have to work out with signing. And whether you vote or not, it would be nice to have people showing that they have seen the proposal, the very least, so that when it passes, it cannot be disputed or reversed. So it's like when someone puts a proposal and it passes, no one can say, yeah, but I didn't see it. Let's do another vote on that. So whether you vote or not, you have to kind of like sign that you have seen and read that proposal. And once it passes, you cannot dispute it. And if you don't sign that you've seen it, you should be penalized. So it at least incentivizes people to read all the proposals.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting angle, like with holographic consensus, right? It's kind of like we sort of have this thought process that you don't necessarily need a lot of votes, but there's sort of this assumption that it got the enough attention, and kind of knowing what the attention is would be good. And I think we'll be able to do a lot more talking about how the governance works and all the nuances. And it's awesome that we have a squad for that now. That's more than just a gusto. I would just add like one more thing, which is that, you know, something we've talked about in the past. I think maybe it's a little bit lost and not recognized, but DXDAO is in, I think, a very like special position, and we have a lot of gifts. Like we have an incredibly large treasury, which is amazing. But I think what's even more powerful than that and doesn't get enough recognition is like how, like Chris likes to talk about this, like how DXDAO came about, right? Like that there's no founders, there's no company, there's no legal entity. And I think that actually puts DXDAO in a very special position. And we have this like really like crazy awesome opportunity in front of us because of that. So I think it'll be cool to think about what we can do with that.
And know that no one else can challenge that because everything's changed in the last 2 years, right? You can't have like, you couldn't launch a DAO like we have a DXDAO now. It was only at that like moment of time. So yeah, I just think we're positioned well here.
Yeah, and I think like back then Gnosis, like I don't know if the reason, but a main thing that they wanted to do is sort of legal arbitrage, and then DXDAO is existing in like full, because there's no legal entity, there's like full legal arbitrage for anyone who wants to do things that, I don't know, currently are not available because they're in a certain jurisdiction. You know, we can allow for many different things to do, and yeah, in a way, you know, DXDAO, like I think the beauty of DXDAO is that, you know, it was sort of created by Gnosis and DXDAO and DAOstack, but they left. They left, and, you know, a void happened, and then a bunch of people picked it up, and, you know, that's the only way for something truly decentralized to rise up. So
I have heard some pushback recently, though, that like, because now the only way you can earn reputation is to contribute value to DXDAO, but at the beginning, it was capital basically. So it was capital, and now it's contribution. And so people are like, I in the beginning I could use capital to get rep, and now I can't use capital to get rep. That doesn't seem fair, basically.
Yeah, well, to Nylon's point about the different groups, like that's what you need for decentralization, is you need to have like different moments of time where power is concentrating in certain like in certain like the people that fit a certain kind of role. And so maybe there was a capital role, maybe there's like a labor role, and then like I hope like going forward we have other ways of distributing rep. But it's really just about like continuing that process and making sure it's not becoming static in a single group. And that's the risk now, but hopefully we'll move beyond that, right?
And I think that's what governance 2.0 is all about, right? Is about addressing that balance. But it is kind of interesting. We've sort of whipsawed from the initial staking was pure capital to now we're essentially operating as like a worker's paradise, right? Where like, but governance 2.0 is that compromise, I think, and should be addressing that.
Yeah, awesome. This is a lovely tangent that's sort of like a you know, preparation for the retreat.
Retreat warm up, you know.
Yeah.
And it just shows how, I mean, governance, like we say we build DeFi products, but governance is like the most important product, the most important topic in all of our conversations, in like every topic we're talking about, basically. It's really just governance, coordination.
Yeah, we catch ourselves like talking more about processes than you know, opportunities during the DXbiz huddles. So
yeah, well, this is I think this is important, and you know, the core thing, the first thing or the foundation that we're doing is doing things in a decentralized way, which is yeah, like no one else is really doing that. Like most of governance or DAOs, whatever people are talking about, they're doing this because of like this is legal arbitrage again. and they want to do things they cannot do any other way. And we're actually trying to figure out how to work a bunch of people with no central authority making decisions and progressing to a certain direction. So, yeah. Anyone has any other things to add? We can move into the updates.
What are the updates?
Okay, so I have here like the Swapper Epoch 3. I don't know if this is still relevant, and the Badger collaboration, if there's any updates on that.
Yeah, those are kind of those are covered mainly on the Swapper call and farming call now, but yeah, there's going to be a new list of like our process for deciding how to bring entities or projects into this like farming rewards program, which we are now running on a bi-weekly basis, right? And so we need to have better parameters that we can like discuss and identify to make sure things are at least not like outlandishly fraud or scam or too risky or something. But we may have like different. We're doing a test with Epoch 2 with a few different projects where we have a tiny bit of allocation to see if it's attracting the token holders of those tokens on Arbitrum. I think, and then we'll have a larger one that's going along with Badger that's going to roll out and that is rolling out. And we were joining their call last week, and that seems like a bigger, deeper alignment. But we will then have these two different examples of different ways to bring projects into the Swapper ecosystem, and we will have to learn from those and decide how to adjust and bring new other projects into those systems going forward with each epoch. But yeah, and then like XDAI and Mainnet also become good opportunities where we've been without Swapper token for a while, and now we will have Swapper token on those chains as well, and it will give us leverage to do some more partnerships and things with and allocate towards interesting projects, I think. So that will be great, and it's very dynamic on a regular basis. And so the other calls also will have a lot of focus on this, the farming call.
Yeah, and I think that due diligence process is really good because obviously there's only so much you can do to vet other projects, and this is crypto. Even Compound, one of the most established DeFi products, just lost 160 million of its own token rights. There's no like perfect state of but I think what is important is like setting expectations for our users, right? And by like providing farming incentives, there's some kind of implicit like kind of endorsement around that's there. And so just clarifying like what that really means for all the farming community, I think is really important. Just like putting it out there, whatever it is that we do on that due diligence, it's just making sure they understand and can calibrate the risks accordingly.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's the rep holder vote, which is whale skewed right now, but then soon hopefully will be the rep snapshot on Arbitrum, and there's a lot to follow here with this stuff. So there's gonna be there's delegated like process to like gather information and propose to rep holders, but how many actual rep holders are going to vote every time on these projects that are introduced into the Swapper rewards campaign? So it's a balance, but at the end of the day, the rep holders should have the information out there so that they can make a decision. If they choose to vote, they vote. If they don't choose to vote, then they don't. But at least we make sure that the information is public to them, basically. So yeah, we'll continue to improve that.
Awesome.
Yeah, there is this service that will do like push notifications to Ethereum addresses, and we could, once it's ready, it's still in early stages. Once it's fully developed, we could incorporate it. So whenever we do a vote that we need a big turnout, we could utilize it. So we send a push notification to every single address that has rep so that they could vote. And also we could figure out a way to incentivize majority votes, like with a carrot. If we reach more than 51%, then everybody gets something. If we don't, then not.
All right. Do you want to update on Badger as well, the collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, I've touched on it, but so the plan is still for this week to roll out a couple of the guarded vaults, and then later this week, we're kind of dependent on Arbitrum and having the tokens necessary to be bridged and whitelisted on Arbitrum, but there will be a larger vault campaign for 2 of their tokens, which then those vaults actually are farming the pools on Swapper. So yeah, all part of like a program that hopefully goes well and lasts for a number of epochs. Yeah.
All right. We want to talk briefly about Adamant that presented in the Thursday call.
Yeah, so Adamant, we would categorize, at least for now, we're categorizing into one of the, like a project that's doing interesting stuff on Arbitrum. You know, there's only a certain amount of projects that are doing stuff. They're building, you know, integrating into Swapper. And so doing a trial where we give, so their token is also there, right? And so doing a trial farm to see if we can attract the attention and liquidity of that token into the Swapper ecosystem. And so it's a small allocation, but it's a good test on if how this process works and if it, you know, brings the attention of that community and those token holders to Swapper on Arbitrum. And so that's not like giant formal partnership, like code is risky, leverage is risky, you know, we're not like you know, endorsing the project, but we are doing a small trial, it's almost like a community airdrop to their friendly airdrop to their community, get Swapper tokens in the hands of people that are part of that community on Arbitrum. So
awesome. So I guess we have a couple more topics. We don't have much time, but yeah, we're going to talk about ETH Online.
Yeah, so I guess just that last, this could be the last one, but ETH Online is ongoing. We did get an interesting, they did about a week ago a report, and hopefully they'll do another one with like all the teams that are looking at the options of different things they can hack on. A few people have come in and asked questions. A few people ended up coming to some dev calls, but there's a report like with people saying they're interested in potentially hacking on this ecosystem. And so that's interesting because it identifies, at least of all the hackers out there, who is looking at your tools and your products and your protocols. They did have last week some like presentations from some of the different bigger projects that were bigger sponsors were presenting to hackers. We, you know, as a lower sponsor, I like all the smaller sponsors don't participate in those, but you could attend and you know, learn and participate in those. But this, like, yeah, it's the next couple weeks is like the you know, the final 2 weeks of it. They have different events and things planned. So it's this week. I know we have a lot of things going on. So I don't think we've paid as much attention as we could if we weren't doing all these other things. But the final week's going to be like while we're in the retreat in Lisbon, and so we can, you know, ramp up if people are asking questions or delivering products. At the end, at some point, there will be like projects submitting hacks submitted, and there will be like some evaluation process, and we'll probably need some devs to like look at the different things that come in and do some evaluation and award some prizes. But yeah, we haven't had too many like technical questions from hackers or anything that I think need to be answered yet.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else or anything, I don't know, anything pressing someone wants to talk about before, because we're a bit over time, but.
I think we're going to transition after this call is over to doing a discussion about Carrot demo, kind of making sure people are on the same page with that, just to give a heads up.
Nathan would like to speak.
I just wanted to do this when I heard about the Carrot presentation. Yeah. I'm not sure whether we could do this quick, but Sky asked a couple of times, and we seem to be still pondering on it and a bit confused whether we could make a quick decision on Opolis. Sky, would you like to lay out the pros and cons and see?
Oh yeah, John, I think you had some additional questions for that. I didn't respond to the forum yet, but like the simplest. Well, it depends if you want DXDAO itself to do the actual action, because the simplest, safest thing to do without providing liquidity to somewhere is to actually just stake the Opolis tokens. And this is something we thought at one point we were going to do with DMG tokens. This is like DXDAO participating in governance with tokens that it holds, right? So there's not much governance happening yet, but eventually you will stake tokens that you hold as a DAO, and you will have, you'll delegate a few people to like participate in the governance of another protocol, and we'll probably see that becoming more and more popular. We're seeing that obviously with hats a little bit, and we're going to have these governance tokens in a handful of different projects, and we want to participate, and we want to bring DXDAO intelligence and experience to those ecosystems. And so one simple thing to do would be to stake our work tokens that we currently hold into the Opolis system, and you actually get a reward for staking. And so that is, okay, that's better than not staking, right? And by not staking, whenever there's a yield that you can earn by not doing it, you are losing money, right? And that comes down to running validators or proof of stake systems, whatever it is. That would be one alternative that we'd have to do with either a sub base on Polygon or a multi-sig on Polygon, which we have. The other options, which are interesting, are to use the tokens as capital in liquidity pools. And the main one is on Polygon on SushiSwap. So that's not super attractive. The alternative would be to bring it to put them into work on Arbitrum on Swapper, or maybe on mainnet on Swapper. And mainnet is interesting because it's mainnet. There's not much going on Arbitrum yet with anything with that token, but that could be an option as well. And so those are the kind of, and then the other one thing is to do nothing. So those are some of the alternatives.
I personally feel like the biggest upside we could get is to stake it on Polygon with a multi-sig. And the question would be how safe that is. And
well, that's the biggest upside. So it is some reward. It's not like a spectacular reward, but it is. I mean, their whole system is there, so I'd say it's risk reward. You're getting a return with very little risk, because all you're doing is staking into their own system. And if their system breaks, like, their whole thing's coming down. So, but
and they'll mint it again if it breaks.
They'll relaunch it. Yeah, the community probably relaunch it if it broke.
And I think we could withdraw at any time, any amount we want. So if a pool on mainnet gets any traction, we could do something about it. John had an idea of probably utilizing the liquidity to add to a pool on Swapper on any of the chains we support, and that will always be an open possibility in the future with the multi-sig.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing is that DXDAO currently holds like X number of work tokens, but we will be, via our grant, will eventually get more and more work tokens. So this is a token that is will continue. The DXDAO will continue to accumulate too. So putting them to work, it makes a lot of sense because we're going to get more and more of them. But in a liquidity pool, you're dealing with impermanent loss and all those kind of risks and things like that as well. Putting them into Swapper, if it's attracting liquidity, that's great. Staking, just like plainly staking them for some reward, is like the vanilla basic option. Put our work to work. So this is a good question. Like what like in our process is like a poll on the forum good, or should we do like come up with like the best one we think and then do a signal proposal, like to actually get some signal from the community?
I mean, just kind of going like maybe a step backwards is, I think that DXDAO, like whatever, if we're getting tokens or if we're investing in something, then we believe in it long term, and then probably as sort of like a general decision, we should be whatever staking for the long term of the project, assuming this project will exist in 5 years, and we believe, this is the best outcome. So I would say this should be like the get-go like decision that we have, but I mean, maybe this is sort of like a DXDAO policy that we should formulate in a proposal.
Yeah, and Chris had mentioned opportunity. This could be an opportunity to have a DXDAO base on Polygon as well. But maybe let's take this conversation to the forum and channels, and so we can move on to the next. We talked about it probably long enough. We can move on to the next topic.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe stop there? Like, I mean, this is, I guess the BizDev call is